With an election right around the corner and the first ballots going out in North Carolina in just 9 days, yes, before the debate, we are getting an August surprise. Special counsel Jack Smith has again indicted former President Trump in the election interference case. The 4 charges in the original indictment have not changed, but Smith just reframed his case after the Supreme Court's decision on presidential immunity. Trump is flat out calling it election interference at its worst and referencing the DOJ's 60-day rule that discourages new legal action before an election. His running mate, J.D. Vance, backing him up.
It looks like Jack Smith doing more what he does, which is filing these absurd lawsuits in an effort to influence the election. The reason the Supreme Court threw out his lawsuit is because they said it implicated the president's official acts, of course, which the president has immunity in conducting those official acts. I don't think that it changes anything legally. I think it's clearly an effort to try to do more election interference from Jack Smith. He should be ashamed of himself.
Yeah. But it seems some in the media are cheering it on.
It is a slick move.
But because of the slow nature of our justice system, this is a conversation we are still having.
I will say the 60-day rule is not actually a rule. It's a norm. It's a practice.
It's not written in law. It's not something that is written in stone. It's a policy, a guideline of sorts. Nothing has changed to the actual text.
Once a case has begun, once the prosecution has commenced, it can continue to do so up through and including and beyond Election Day.
Judge, she said it wasn't a rule, it's a norm, and I thought we were going to return to norms.
Yeah, well, not only that, it is a rule. It's 9/85.500. Federal prosecutors and agents may never select the timing of any action, including investigative steps and criminal charges, for the purpose of affecting an election or for the purpose of giving an advantage or disadvantage from one side to the other. Let me explain something. Whether it's 90 days or 60 days, this has been a rule that every attorney general has affirmed and reaffirmed since George Bush, the first one, was president, okay? They do it all the time to try to make it clear to the American people that when the feds come in, whether to announce an investigation or an indictment, that they're not going to do it in a way that will interfere with an election or make a candidate look good or bad. Now, there was no legal reason whatsoever to bring this case right now, given the fact that it's not going to go to trial before the election. So what was the point? And I don't want to hear this nonsense about this is a continuation of the other case. If it's a continuation of the other case, then why was that charge dismissed? And why was there a superseding indictment? Why was there a brand new grand jury? There was a whole new investigative grand jury here. That tells you that this is a new indictment. So all of this nonsense is about the Dems continuing interference with the election, beginning with Merrick Garland, who made the decision to appoint a special counsel without the advice and consent of the Senate. And, you know, Jack Smith doesn't have the authority. So this whole thing is just a classic example of what the Democrats do to affect an election.
Jessica, you have thoughts there on your paper?
I do have thoughts on my paper, and now I'm going to have my thoughts out loud. So Trump says anything he doesn't like is election interference. That's his favorite thing to say, and I think this is largely baked in. People who think that he's a victim of the justice system and lawfare believe that, and people think that the American people have a right for him to have his day in court and to also see the evidence presented and to have people rule on that before an election where they have to give him the most important job in the world again, feel that way about it. My understanding from reading the coverage from back in March, so he was in a Florida courtroom, and Jack Smith's team were down there, and they explained that the 60-day rule or the 90-day rule doesn't apply when someone is already in the hands of the justice system, when they've already been charged, and Donald Trump has already been charged. Why they're saying that this is a, quote, slick move is because Jack Smith basically headed off what he knew would be coming if Judge Chutkan ruled on this again or said something. He went back, he kind of trimmed the fat off of the indictment based on the SCOTUS ruling, which you guys all thought was so great. So he took that under consideration, and he brought these same 4 charges again, but with it slimmed down and changing the language all over. So instead of talking about Donald Trump as president, he talks about Donald Trump as a candidate for president in 2020. Mike Pence isn't the VP anymore. He is the president of the Senate. And you're right, that new grand jury looked at it and they said, hell yeah, all 4 of those charges make sense. He should go to trial for this. He's going to be charged. It is not election interference. It is a continuation of this case, and it does not violate the 60-day rule or the 90-day rule.
Let me just say, and I'm going to interrupt here because I have to. What Jack Smith's counsel said in court, referring to this 60-day rule, he said that the 60 days relates to bringing indictments in the days leading up to an election, and is not relevant to a case that is already pending. This is a this is a new indictment, which his own assistant said tolls the 60 days.
Jesse, it feels like they're slicing the salami pretty thin to get to this.
Yeah, you can be president and a candidate, Jessica, at the same time.
Are you really arguing what he did was fine?
Correct. Correct. I'll answer for you. Jack Smith's case got shredded by the Supreme Court when they ruled on presidential immunity for official acts. So all Jack did was reword the indictment and make all the official acts unofficial. That's all he did. Great analogy by Turley, if I may.
Yes, please.
And I'll make it my own because I'm from Philly. This is like a woman going to order a cheesesteak in Philly and saying, "Can I get the low-calorie cheesesteak?" And the chef just cuts it in half, hands her the half, and charges her full price. It's BS, Jessica, and everybody knows it. All he could have done, as Judge said, was just wait until after the election. What if he waits until after the election, Kamala wins, and then he can refile and do whatever he wants? Or Trump wins, and then he can refile and get fired. Either way, he didn't need to do it. Garland should never have let this go. It violates the spirit of the law, 60 days when we have 69 days, and the letter of the law because they're going to be voting in like 16 days.
Greg Gutfeld, do you have any wise words?
I'd like to talk for the next few minutes about the 60-day rule.
Great, that'd be great.
Basically, I tell everyone it's 60 days, don't fall in love with me.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all you
Look,
got.
I don't think we should be surprised. Think about everything that's been thrown at Trump, okay? You've had petitions, you've had lawfare, you've had a nonviolent coup. There's something new. You've had nonstop media collusion. You had a cover-up of a cover-up of Joe Biden's cognitive failure. You had, 7-8 years of calling Trump Hitler and stating rather clearly that he must be stopped and you must do everything possible to stop him. I wonder if that contributed to him getting shot. I swear, if these people could go back in time and smother Trump in the crib, they'd bring a pillow. So when you step back, you got to wonder why. It is emotional. They're not talking about any policy, no facts, just a tornado of terrified emotion. You know, there's this new petition. Did you see this, of Republican staffers? They've endorsed Harris. You know, how spontaneous is that? It's just like the 51 intel agents who planned that one. But it's the status quo. Once again, fear the one man who won't stop. And he doesn't care. So here's my plea, if I may.
Please.
Dana.
Absolutely.
If you're truly radical out there, if you're an honest-to-God rebel, okay, how could you not be in favor of Trump? They tried to arrest him. They tried to sue him. They tried to shoot and kill him. They changed laws to destroy him. They changed the way we voted to keep him from winning. They shamed, they targeted, they doxed, they hoaxed supporters. I mean, this is a moment you got to ask yourself, are you going to join the pirate ship or the pontoon of pansies?
As a pansy, you really think he didn't do any of the things?
Guys, I really want to do my one more thing today. I'm going. Up next, Vice President Kamala Harris's friends over in California, they are helping illegal immigrants make a down payment on a home.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.